Good morning, Seattle, Washington. Good afternoon, Chicago, Illinois, New York City, St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City. And good evening to those of you in Europe, our friends from Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand. Did we have a few chuckles today? Great job, Dishnet, with the presentation of the cards, the names of the cards. Welcome all in, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday morning. This is the HAWC Report number 22. Good to see some of the familiar names out there. Gristle Whistle, good to see you back. Cubs fan Steve, Punk, I Rock This, Dragon, Ezra, John Soul, a lot of you guys here. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Thursday. Yes, welcome to the HAWC Report. We're going to have some fun with these cards today. Yeah, it's nice to have a fun set every once in a while. So remember back in the day, are you guys old enough to remember, do they still do this where you go to like a convention or you go to, some sort of party and they hand out those little stickers like you see on the screen? Hello, my name is John. Hello, my name is Edith. My name is Archie. Hello, my name is Dick Shot. Yeah, unfortunately, some of these guys are born with the names that create legends and allow us to bring them into games like OOTP. Welcome all in. If you've just been watching some Madden 24, and you're like, okay, I'm just too much Madden lately. The game just came out. Madden 24 is being streamed everywhere. I need a break. I need to go somewhere else. And you came over to OOTP 24. Welcome. I am Laptop Pound, streaming Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So good to see you guys here. And yes, don't worry. There will be giveaways. We will do our usual trivia giveaway. We'll do our bounty giveaway, and we'll throw in an extra giveaway too. How well do you know your names? Hint for today's trivia contest. That will come up a little bit later. And if you have a chance, check out my YouTube series. Yes, I'm promoting it. My exclusive YouTube series, Draft to Glory with the Montreal Expos, because, hey, I'm a member of the Montreal Expos in EMLB, and I'm a member of the Brew Crew Bears in the PBE Sim. So check out the Draft to Glory. No trades, no transactions, no waivers, nothing like that. I have to build up a team through the draft and take them to the championship. And the latest video on my YouTube video, it's a good one. You might want to check out that latest one that's posted on there, because we might raise a trophy. Maybe you have to go check it out. So yeah, thank you guys for those of you that have gone over to the YouTube side of things, and hopefully, more and more really good content on the way. Fires still raging in British Columbia. I know my mother lives in British Columbia in the interior, and she said it's smoke and smoke and smoke, and she's almost 80, and of course, the older you get, the tougher it is to deal with smoke sometimes. And she's having to deal with the smoke every day. So she's coming up for a couple weeks to escape from those BC fires. Just horrible situation in many places, and even up north, Yellowknife in our territories, still some raging fires up there. So if you're getting smoke down in the US of A, well, good chances coming from up here in Canada. Blame Canada, as they say on South Park. Well, we got so much to talk about today. Let's bring in the co-host for the show, who's already got his ball cap on, ready to talk baseball and OOTP. Welcome back to the program. You know him as Warbot. I know him as Charles. Welcome back to the show. You're pulling a lap there, Charles. I think you're muted. Great homage to lap there.
That's right. I was just copying you from earlier in the week. It's
Yeah, yeah, there we go. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So,
so
Charles,
you can see that I watch all your streams now. Because I'm sort of starting to copy.
you know, imitation is the best flattery. So I'm honored. Thank you, Charles. Just it's just you're down there, so I'm going to pat your head. There you go. Way to go, Charles. So, Charles, how are things over across the pond? If you're unfamiliar with Charles, he's an American working over in Denmark, in the Copenhagen area. How are things over there? What's the mood like in Denmark tonight?
Not bad. Still, kind of the summer, so still a good time of the year. At some point it starts to get dark pretty quickly soon. So,
Yeah. Have you been to the top-rated city hub?
top rated city hub. Not sure what that is actually. Let's see what that is.
Well, I don't know. Maybe,
Pretty
maybe
close
you
to where
don't
I
want.
live, but I have no idea what that is.
Maybe you don't want to go, but maybe it just fits in with today's theme and some of the names we had in those cards. I don't know. I don't want to delve too much into what the city hub is, but it looks like it might be some sort of hotel or something like that. How about the zoo? Have
I
you
do
been to the?
remember. Actually, I have to think about a way that I can tell this story that works on a stream. Give me a moment here. So, because I did a previous postdoc in Japan, and
Oh, really? Oh,
just thinking about this, and one of the things that I remember, was at the beginning, for all the foreigners who had just come to the university, they'd have a couple different banks that would look for our business, and so the different banks would make a pitch like you should bank with us, and one of the big ones was Citibank, which I had thought of as a North American bank, I guess, but it's global. Um, and so they were giving this pitch for why we should use their bank. Uh, the problem is that in Japanese, essentially there are only a limited number of syllables that really exist in the language, and so you then take foreign words and you kind of make it work as best you can with the syllables that exist. So with an S, C or S is not really a syllable. It becomes an SH. It becomes like she. So when they were trying to say Citibank, they were saying something a little bit different. And
whoa,
so,
whoa, 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 whoa! Time
like
out,
I
time
said,
out there.
we got to be careful on stream. Yep.
Yes, yes.
Um, but I do
What you're
remember they
saying is it
kept
was a
saying
crappy
it.
bank, a crappy
Yes,
bank,
they
and
were
these you're trying
exactly. Yes, it was not a good bank. But then, I'd ask, they kept saying things like, the reason that you should bank at Crappy Bank is because at Crappy Bank we speak great English. And I was just sitting there trying to keep a straight face.
Lemon Pledge is doing well. Yeah, I picked up some Lemon Pledge the other day outside of Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Okay, moving on. We got some limited editions. Inside joke there. We got some limited edition cards. This is the one I'm most curious what you think about this bronze Fred Clark. Look at that arm,
That is a lot
112.
of arm, isn't it?
Is this, do you think, a meta card for bronze? Is this a card that you would replace? I don't know who's in the outfield now in bronze meta, but is that good enough to say we got to give this guy a shot in bronze quicks?
So I can run something real quick. I'm guessing not. And the reason I'm guessing not is simply because he's a left fielder. And, so as a right fielder, maybe I'm going to think a little bit more about the defense. Left field, I think I'm often just kind of looking at a bat. Like, even if you think about some of the great throws in the history of baseball, a lot of them are, right fielder just gunning somebody down trying to go first to third or
Right,
something like that.
right.
And left field, it just doesn't come up quite as much. So I think because of that, I still probably would rather run a bat in left. So I do have him as, about the second or third best option in left. But I think for me, I'd rather run a card like maybe Matty McIntyre, or you could even run Dink in left,
Yeah.
just because left field isn't where I want to put my arm. And I think if you gave me exactly the same card, but said he were a right fielder, then I think I'd be a little bit more excited. But you definitely
And
could play him. Like, you definitely play
running
him.
with today's theme, I am running Dink in left. Like, hey, it's the name game to this week, and that's who my left fielder is right now. I got Dink running against the righties. I do have, Gorman Thomas still one of my only iron cards. I think he, Kingman, and Mathis are the 3 iron I'm still running in bronze. And I am running that Joel Youngblood limited edition with mixed results. He's either really good or really bad. Right now, I'm in the 3rd round of a tournament, and he's hitting. Well, let me just bring it up here. He's hitting 387. So
I think if he hits 387, he can play wherever he wants.
yeah. So here's the Joel Youngblood that I'm using, and he's doing well. So again, I've got Dink here playing in left. He's hitting 341 this tournament. So yeah, there are other options. I was just curious if you thought that he was a guy that was a must-have.
I definitely don't think Clark's a must-have. I don't think he's the card I'd prefer to run, but it's an interesting option. And it might be that there's some kind of tournament where the arm maybe matters a little bit more. I mean, you could probably come up with a format where that's true. But I think typically I'd rather run McIntyre. I'd still run Jimmy Wynn, who's got a ton of eye and power and really good defensively.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Charles, what I need you to do is just put your hand up to the screen like that.
All right.
And move it forward. That's for Cubs fan Steve. Synchronicity. He just pulled a Fred Clark, number 42. So maybe when we show the Noodles Han perfect, someone's going to pull that one. Seems to be working. With the other,
with these numbers, that reminds me of one of the challenges that. So actually, here I'm gonna give this challenge for anyone in chat. Now that we have all these 100 copy LEs, so I know RDT was doing this a couple cycles ago. So what you can do is you can imagine, just making like a chart, like a 10 by 10, grid, like 1 to 10, 11 to 20, whatever. Your job, you can pick any LE you want to, but you got to make a bingo. You got to find a set of 3 cards that actually make a bingo on that grid, with your limited edition numbers.
There you go. Well, Cubs fan Steve has N42. N42. Right. You can mark that off. And I don't know what's going on. Today's a weird show, Charles. We're having glitches. We're having perfect draft glitches. But the good thing is the chat is pulling some good cards. Chadwick just pulled the Tippy Martinez, and look who's on the screen. Tippy Martinez.
There you go.
Steve pulled the Clark card that was on screen. You guys, at least you guys are benefiting from all these mysterious Walker situations going on today. All right, let's move on with these 4 cards here. I brought them up. I don't own any of them, but we can see kind of a quick snapshot. Here's that Tippy Martinez, who unfortunately picked off 3 Blue Jays. If you're a low silver, if you are in these cap tournaments, 70 is a good number for these low silvers. Is this replacing he must be in the bullpen at least, right? It looks good enough to be there.
Yeah, in fact, I think it looks to me like in full silver, he's still one of your top. He's not going to be quite as good as Henke or Calero, but even in full silver, he's going to play. And in low silver, I've got him similar, little bit different shape, but I've got him similar to the Jeremy Affeldt limited edition we just had. So kind of is one of the top couple low silver options. So this looks like a really strong card out of the pen. And also 23 stamina is not bad for some of these formats.
So Chadwick, do you play silver? Because if you play silver, you've just picked up a new card for your quicksilver and for your low silver. So excellent card to have. Tippy Martinez from the Baltimore Orioles. Now we've got the 3 Blue Jays. First of all, 83 Barry Bonnell, who I remember a little bit as a Blue Jay fan, but not a lot. He's not a player that stands out big time for me. He's got a lot of green, plays left field, plays third base as well. Low gold. I don't think he fits in the meta anywhere. Just another, run of the mill kind of low gold card. What do you think about Benell?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I could say it is if you take a look at the card, pretend you didn't see the overall. What
Okay.
overall do you think you'd put on that card? Like, you imagine you just covered the overall number.
I'd say like a
Yeah.
77.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. I mean, I think it's probably somewhere mid or even low silver. And so the fact that he's an 83, I think, kind of is telling you that probably you're not going to want to play him.
Yeah. That's a good game. You cover up the card and just look at the ratings. So what do you think? What do you think in the algorithm pushes him into that goal level? Is it the defense? Is it the outfield? Is it just that he's good at a lot, but not great at anything?
I'm guessing it's the defense because there have been a few cards where excellent left field defense seems to bump up the overall number. But the problem, kind of as we were discussing with Fred Clark, is that left field is actually one of the places you kind of tend to just hide a big bat who isn't that good defensively.
Yeah.
So it's not giving you as much value.
Right. So interesting too, when you said cover up the number. So we look at the Fred Clark, take a look at that card, and then we put up the Barry Bonell. And if I was to ask which had the higher rating, I think it might go 50-50.
Yeah, I think you'd probably, yeah, you might well even just pick Clark. And I think that's what you're seeing is that it means that Benell is a very weak low gold and Clark is a very strong bronze.
Yeah. Yeah. I would, if I was shown these, I would say that I would rate Clark higher, not a lot higher, but just
I agree,
based
yeah.
on, yeah. So maybe
And so
like,
that's why Clark is a card where you will think about playing him in bronze. There are a couple other really excellent cards. The problem is Dink is like a similarly really strong card and,
yeah.
and kind of does similar stuff. So that's why it's close. But
Okay.
that's why Clark is a really interesting card, and Barry Bonell is more kind of a good story.
Yes. Dave Collins, 41. So it's almost as low as you can get. So here again, we're talking those cap tournaments, PTCS tournaments where these low cards can play a crucial role. I think, for a 41, definitely in certain eras, the dead ball era, he doesn't have any gap power, but he's got speed, BABIP, eye. For a 41, I think this is a good card. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean this looks like you're getting a lot out of a 41 because you're getting, first off, you're getting a legitimate bat. There's no power, but you get everything else. But also the base running is a lot of value. Someone off the bench can be a pinch runner. Uh, there's one big flaw in the card, which makes it a little bit tough to run in some caps, which is simply that he really only plays one position. I know he technically plays first base, but often your DH is going to play first base or something like that in the cap anyway. So the fact that he's one position makes it a little bit tough in depth charts. I think
Yeah.
you're going to play this card in almost every dead ball cap because in a dead ball cap where we can draft 18 or 19, we can put 18 or 19 position players on the bench. Now it's perfectly
Mhm.
fine to have someone off the bench who only plays one position and brings real value.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. Switch hitter, dead ball card, definitely in a cap tournament for dead ball. This is someone you're going to add. It's only 1 point. And yeah,
yeah,
you can use a pinch runner. Yeah. Okay.
I think
And
in modern caps, then I think he's still going to be a very efficient 41, but it's going to come down to your roster construction and whether you're willing to play someone who really only backs up one position simply because he does all these other things. So, for example, let's say your left fielder were Dink. Well, Dink actually plays about 5 positions, so
yeah,
maybe you could get away with a backup that only plays one in that case, but it would depend on the
yeah,
rest of the roster.
right. So has anyone pulled a Dave Collins yet? Because we've had a Clark and we've had a Tippy pulled already. And then the third one, a player I'm very familiar with, one of my favorite Blue Jays, loved him, loved his, quiet demeanor on the field. Here's that low silver again, just like we saw with Tip, 70 silver, but again, He plays a position where there's so many strong cards at that position, only one positional player, and is not probably going to cut many lineups.
Yeah, so I think at least the thing with this card, if he were bronze, you would basically never look at the card. Because there are silver floor caps, and so in a silver floor cap, he costs you nothing, then it's at least a card that you should take a look at. But I think even at 70 overall, I'd probably rather run a card like Joe Hauser if you're going to run a first baseman. So I don't think he's going to end up playing. I think it's, again, more one of these where there's a good story, but probably the card's not so strong.
Okay, finally, we got to rip through these cards here, the card report, and find out a little bit about what Charles thinks about the newest cards that were released. Not so much the name, but the capability. And I was going to put this on EVC's forum because when I was looking up weird names, I came across this one and I thought, there's no way.
Actually, I got to ask EVC for a ruling here because I forgot to fill out the form. But if I had filled out the form, I definitely would have put Tony Suck on it. Would that have counted?
Yeah. Because he was shown as a card, EVC. You got to make an executive decision. Does Tony Suck count? I'm glad I'm not in your shoes, buddy. All right. Tony Suck. Tony Suck, the 2-rated card. Oh, he would have definitely counted. Okay, there you go. Did anyone guess Tony Suck, by the way? EVC, while we're on that name? So Rusty. I'm just going to call him Rusty. One of the most splittiest cards
I'm going to have to check
seen.
my pronunciation guide very carefully on this one.
Yes. Again, I don't know if we've seen a more splitty batter ever. This is definitely someone that's good against the lefties. Are you going to try him out in any kind of iron situation?
That's a good question. So I have him not just as, kind of your best like platoon bat against the lefties for low iron, but probably for iron and, at least pretty competitive even for bronze. So
really for bronze competitive. So you're going to have him as a platoon guy for bronze.
Now, it is the case that, if he's kind of batting only against lefties, that makes it a little tough to want to use him as a platoon bat. So I think there's a little bit of a roster construction problem. But, yeah, I think I'm going to try to run him because he's just so good against lefties. You really don't want to run him in the field, so I think you do want to run him at DH. But, yeah, I think I'm going to try to run him.
Yeah, and when I get a hold of this, he's going on my iron team for sure. Look at those 90s. 1, 2, 3 90s and 89 for iron. Yeah, why not? Yeah. And how about in a like a cap tournament, like say the PTCS that we just had? Would you have brought him in?
I don't think so because there's not a lot of left-handed pitching. But right now, if you look at the current cards that have been released, so you remember for a while, gold was almost entirely left-handed starters. And so at that time, if you were running sort of a gold cap and you needed to fill out a roster, this would have been an interesting bat to bring in off the bench. So gold, we've had some righties released, but now silver has a lot of left-handed starters. So I think in a silver cap, this might be a pretty interesting card.
All right. And welcome back, Dragon, from Star Wars Episode 2. Yeah, welcome back.
Do we have another commercial?
Yeah, it must be a German thing. They must have different.
That's what we'll do. Next commercial, I'll tell you my curling story. We'll wait for the commercial on that one.
Okay. So if you don't want to miss the curling story, subscribe now because you won't miss the Charles curling story. All right, Rick Vandenherk. Hey, I think I got that right. Rick Vandenherk, starting pitcher, 60, so a low bronze. That BABIP looks fantastic. Is it fantastic enough to replace one of the current bronze pitchers that we currently use?
I don't think so, just because there are a lot of other pitchers that have really strong BABIP. Certainly an open bronze. Let's start with that. Let me here. I'll pull up a card as a comparison. Let me pull up as an example Sal Magley. So another kind of solid starting pitcher option in bronze. So as soon as it loads, I'll be able to show you. 1 second. Now I can show you. Am I still sharing?
Yep.
Okay. Here you go. So here's Sal Magley as a comparison. So you have similarly, really good pitcher BABIP, but then if you look at the rest of the card, you're just getting a lot more for Sal Magley than we were getting for Vandenherk. So I don't think you're going to be looking at him, in the bronze meta. But now the other question you could ask is in something like a bronze floor cap. And I guess the bronze floor cap got taken out, I believe, as part of this last update. So there isn't currently one, but you could imagine that maybe there's a PTCS format or something, where there's a bronze floor cap. I think even there, I'd probably rather run a card like Sid Hernandez, or if you're willing to pay 1 point, for 61, you can get Cal Eldred, you can get Pat Malone. There's also the Boof Bonser that just got released, which also looks like a pretty good 61. So I think this is a card where the pitcher BABIP is enough that you don't hate drafting him, but there's still probably some better options. And at 56 stamina, you're also at least going to be a little careful about wanting to start him.
Okay. So doesn't quite replace the bronze meta. Again, we've got McNally, who's still there. We've got a couple limited edition choices. Kel Eldred. We've got Lucas Giolito. Does it replace someone like Jim Deshaies card?
No, I think Deshay is also probably. I just think you're only kind of looking at him in some kind of bronze floor cap, and even there, probably he's a little bit behind.
Okay.
The pitcher BABIP is really important, but you still need there are enough good cards now that have pitcher BABIP that you probably need another positive feature as well.
Okay. Next up, we have, let me go back to this screen here. We got Spotlight packs that will have a lot of these cards in it. And we haven't talked about the Spotlight pack, but it's Spotlight pack number 14. 1 silver plus card from the trade deadline, Tops 4, Negro League 3, Immortals, or 80 grade baseball names. Price is $30K. That's one of the more pricey ones we've seen, Charles. But look at all the perfects that you can pull. What do you think?
Well, there are going to be a lot of perfects, I guess, because you have all of the Immortals. So
18 of them.
It really depends on which one you hit, though, because some of these are really good cards, and then some of these, you're barely making your 30K back for a couple of them too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, minimum you're making 20 as a quick sell, and I think all of these would be better than quick sell. I'm thinking minimum maybe 25,000 you would get.
Yeah, but how many perfects are there? It looks
18.
like there are what?
18.
18, you said. Okay, so you got like a 9.5% chance of something to hit a perfect.
Right, and then we work our way all the way down, and the lowest is we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 silvers.
Yeah, so the fact that there are only a few silvers at least helps here, because one of the things with the Spotlight packs is, unlike sort of the other historical packs, the odds of getting a silver or gold or something aren't always the same. It depends on what's in the set. So when you have a set that doesn't have a lot of silvers in it, it just turns out to mean you're not that likely to pick a silver, which makes the pack more valuable. And that's probably why it's 30K.
Yeah. Looks like about a 30.
Try to run it real quick. Yeah.
26, maybe about a 28% chance of pulling a silver. And you said about a 9.5% chance of getting a perfect. Something like that. So anyway, if you bought any spotlight packs, let us
Perfect,
know.
I
How are
think.
you
Yeah.
guys?
So you have over 70% chance to get at least a gold.
Yeah. But for 30K, there are not many golds that are going to be worth 30K.
No, I mean, you're really, most of the value is still coming from these perfects, but almost 10% of the time you're going to pull one. So
Yeah.
really that's what you would be hoping to get, or, one of the perfects, or at least a few of the diamonds.
Yeah.
I think
Those-
I usually there's someone in chat actually that tries to run something and figure out how much it's worth. If not, I could always run that, I guess, if you want.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll
Kind of
move on if you
see
want
what you
to
think it's
run that in the
worth.
background. Basically, if you buy 10 packs, you should get at least one
Sure.
perfect, kind of on those odds. Next up, a low bronze Lastings millage. Lastings
Round one for 10
millage.
packs, yeah.
64, again, I don't think is going to play in really any kind of format. There's just too many better cards out there. He's not an all-star stellar defensive card. Speed is really nothing to write home about. And again, he's good at many things, but just not the meta at anything that we would want to see him in.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think
we'll move on
that
from him.
looks
Johnny Dickshot,
okay.
probably the most popular card name
Then we got Johnny
that we had
Dickshot.
out
Yes.
there. Yes, a 69 Johnny Dickshot. Again, better against the lefties, pretty decent against the righties. Again, it's what we would expect probably out of a bronze card. If I just saw the ratings, I would say, yeah, that's probably going to be a high bronze, maybe low silver. Does he play anywhere though? Because again, here's that left fielder where we got Dink, we've got the other cards that we talked about. Is he good enough to make? Where is he? Is he in your top 3 left fielders now for bronze open?
I think Can you hear me again? I think we're having some connection issues. Is this still working?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Me? Okay. It looked like it was freezing for a second. No, I don't think I have him that high up, honestly. So the eye is not that good. So the bat's not going to be as strong as some of the ones we're looking at. So if you compare him, for example, to Fred Clark we saw earlier, probably Clark's bat's even going to be a little bit better. And then Clark's glove is much better.
Right.
So I think there are other reasons it's a fun card, but I don't think it's a fun card that I'm going to kind of want to throw into the lineup unless I have a really good pun to make. And I do, but I probably shouldn't make it on stream.
Moving ahead. And you know what? Here's kind of what I found interesting when I was putting these slides together frantically before the show today is, of course, anytime you go into Google and you type in some of these names, you got to be careful, what images you're going to get. So as I'm typing these in, when I put in Johnny Dickshot, and you can see it in the top corner here, Johnny Dickshot tops, look at some of the other cards they came up with images, including Rusty and including Stubby Clap. You think Google's trolling us today? You think they are?
Well, I think it's just people who search for one must search for the others. But the one I was actually kind of in awe of was Dishnet. In the middle of the stream, just as part of the discussion, said, "Let me pull up a picture of him." And I have to say, I would not have been nearly brave enough as a streamer to just in the middle of a chat say, "Let me go type, Johnny Dickshot picture into Google and see what picture pops up and show it." I would have been terrified to do that.
Yes, I'm glad he didn't do it live. He pulled the picture up a little bit later. It wasn't the main screen he was showing because he probably would not be an employee for much longer if that happens. So
yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for anybody. Yeah,
you can finally say that you got your Dickshot picture on OOTP because he was able to pull one up as apparently one of the ugliest players, self-proclaimed by the player himself.
I will say
Yes.
that I'm looking at that 1979 card, by the way. So some of these are not bad. That 1979 card is also just an ugly card, isn't it?
By
The
which
thing
player?
just first says like Pirates and outfield down the outside, and it's like in black and white.
Oh yeah, yeah, that one right there. I'm not clicking on anything else on this page.
No, 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 no. I think let's move on to
Another Canadian boy. Canadian, the only Nolan, who I had him on my EVC list, but then I switched him out for Oil Can Boyd. So if I lose by one, it's my bad, my mistake, because I did have only Nolan, and switched him out at the last moment. All right, pitcher with a little bit of hit behind him, better against the right-handed batters. The BABIP's probably not there, is what you're going to say for a silver pitcher.
No, I don't think so. I think the only place that you might, think about using the only, maybe you could imagine there's some kind of tournament format where you desperately need two-way players or something like that. But yeah, I think as you say, there are just a lot, even just at exactly 70 overall, there are a lot of better options here.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on because we got a few more to cover. Phenomenal Smith, a phenomenal name, a player that I'm guessing EVC was probably one of the most popular choices on the Guess the Set contest. I know in your stream,
If I had remembered to put that in, well, given that we wrote questions about him, he definitely would have been on my list. The card, unfortunately, isn't so phenomenal, and you can kind of see the pieces that it's missing. It does have some pitcher BABIP, but once you're looking at the full silver level, there are a lot of pitchers that have that BABIP just plus a lot of other pieces.
Oh, only 3 phenomenal guesses. Was I one of them? Did I take him off or did I leave him on? I can't remember if I guessed phenomenal. I know I have been thinking about putting him on my list. All right, so not quite there.
I clearly have to remember to fill this out because if I had filled it out this week, because you can see from the from the trivia questions what we would have ended up with.
Yes, yes. And if this had some more control, he'd be a good dead ball era pitcher, or maybe
yeah.
a good 1930s pitcher, but just needs a little more control. All right, next up, we got Coco Crisp, who I know I did have Coco Crisp on my team, on my Guess the Set. So I know I got at least one right. 85 gold card. He's got speed, he's got defense, but is it good enough to get him in your lineup?
I love that picture. Let me just,
Yeah, that's a grade. That's an S+ tier pitcher.
The incredible thing is if you show me that picture in that A's uniform and you ask me the era, you'd have to pick the mid 70s, right?
Yes. Yeah. I would think that would be a mid 70s. That would be, out in the bullpen and just chilling, catching some rays with those sunglasses and that gorgeous A's uniform. Yeah.
Yep.
So 1985 or 85 rated card. Does he play? If it was an 84, it might be a different story. But being an 85,
yeah, as an 84, I think this is sort of a meta low gold card. And unfortunately, I think by making him an 85, he drops behind, let me see, 7 or 8 other gold options in center.
Yeah.
So
of course, Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Mike Trout being probably the tops. Mike Trout still probably number 1.
Tops Mike Trout. There's the tournament edition Walt Wilmot that just came out. There's
Right.
Jason Dominguez, Esteban Montalvo. I'd probably rather play in a corner, but you could play in center. You could even run Bo Jackson. So he just drops behind a bunch of players.
Right.
Okay. It's still not a bad card. It's just kind of at 84, it's a meta card. And at 85, I don't think he's going to see anybody's tournament roster except in something that's era limited.
Yeah. Again, just one of those cases, so close. Could have went the other way if it was an 84. Next, we have Urban Shocker. We kind of looked at him a little bit with the bounty draft. What do you think? 87 I'm not overly familiar with the gold meta pitchers. I know a lot of them were left-handed ones. Here is a So is it good enough as a righty if you're playing righty starters?
I think it might be. So there's a big question here as far as kind of how you evaluate him, where like the model that I'm going to run is somewhat different than like decisions other people are going to make. So this card has a huge split. But unlike almost every other card in the game, you notice this is actually a huge reverse split. He's actually much,
Mm.
much better versus lefties than righties, even though he's a right-handed pitcher.
Okay.
And so the big question is, what are people going to run against him when you play him? You know, what you probably should do if you're kind of really thinking carefully about it, you probably want to run right-handed hitters against him. He's much worse against righties, and a lot of the right-handed hitters don't have huge splits. On the other hand, most people in tournaments, they don't really micro everything. They just kind of pick something that's going to work overall for their roster. They're not looking at exactly who they're facing. And so he's going to face mostly lefties. So if you think that Urban Shocker is going to get to face mostly lefties the way a typical right-handed starter would, then this might even be the new best starter in gold. If you
Oh,
think
wow.
people are going to load up on righties, then he drops way down the list because he's much weaker against righties than lefties. And so I think this is something that managers are going to have to try out. If you had 5 starters like this, then everyone would just run righties and it wouldn't work. But when you have one starter like this and all the other righties you still want to hit lefties against, then I think this is a really powerful card. So
All right.
this is one where it's not just a question of a model. You're actually going to have to figure out what everybody else is doing.
All right. Play a few tournaments, see kind of what other managers are doing, and then kind of make that decision. See if you want to risk putting him into the lineup. So he could be a top end pitcher for you in gold in many situations. Okay.
Definitely could be. Yeah.
Happy Felsch. EVC, curious, did anyone have this? Because, yeah, it's a unique name, but I would think that, it's probably one that people would pass on simply because there are so many other good names out there. Did anyone have a Happy Felsch? And again, low diamond. So you always prefer it being lower than 95 to help in certain situations. He can train in left field up to 119. Center field, though, I think we have a lot more stronger options, and that eye is going to be the killer here, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think, we can kind of apply the same test we did a little bit earlier. So let's say we covered up the overall. If you cover up the overall, where do you think you'd want to put Happy? Like, what overall would you guess compared with sort of some of the other cards that have come out recently?
Low gold.
What overall would you put on the card?
I'd put a low gold.
Yeah, I think that's about where I'd put him too. Yeah, I think that's so. So if he were a low gold, you'd probably think about running him. But if you apply that same test and he's actually a low diamond, well, now you're trying to run essentially a low gold and low diamond, so he's just not going to play.
Yeah. Okay. The Happy Felsch release was actually in 95, not 92. Oh.
Oh.
Okay. So
well, that if it's the same card, but it's the same card, or did they show the wrong profile?
The 95
Because
is a happier Felsch. Is it? Yeah.
Right.
Is it
No,
the same
if
rating?
the 95 card also has higher ratings, then we should look at it more. If it's the same card, but it's actually a 95 at those ratings, then even more than everything we just said applies, except even more because it's even harder for him to compete.
Okay.
Right?
So same card, just a 95. Well, that's kind of surprising that this would be a 95. I would never have guessed. I guess it's because the defense that brought him way up, but yeah.
Okay. Well, then everything we just said applies, except that at 95, it's even that much harder to get him to play.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on from that one to the next, I'm assuming, low diamond. And that is a card I did guess for sure. I for sure this is probably the most guessed card in Guess the Set. We've been waiting for the Chicken Wolf. There was one last year. There wasn't one this year yet. You got to love his baseball card in the top there. He's just chilling, relaxing. He's probably hanging out with Little Stoner, and they're having a good time back in the late 1800s. Now, this, when I look at it, if I was guessing a rating, I would say at least a low diamond because of all the blue there.
I think you may not have put the card up for everyone. Let me.
Oh, well, we just got us. What happened? It just closed down on me. Imagine
Well, we got a good picture of you,
card.
and you were definitely at least a low diamond.
Yeah, there we go. There's that beautiful baseball card.
Well, I don't know, because I will say I look at that baseball card and I don't see 96 range.
No, not at all. That looks like maybe a 60 range. This could be off season though. Maybe it's an off season pose.
That could be.
He again, little Stoner's taking the picture. He's saying, "Come on, chicken, let's go, chicken. Come on, bark, bark, bark. Come on, pose for your photo shoot here."
Exactly.
From Louisville. I don't know what goes on in Louisville, but looks like Chicken Wolf's having a good old time in the outfield there. Okay, the card, I would say definitely, I would think it would be a low diamond. Too bad the eye wasn't 15 to 20 higher. Then it would, for me, be a very playable card. What say you?
Yeah, I think that's about where I've got it too. I think, so one of the things in low diamond, as an example, in a right fielder, there's also, let me pull him up. Let me pull up like Elmer Flick, who I know we've had in a few drafts as well. Well, the 100's also good, but here's the 92 Elmer Flick, for example. And you're also getting a really good glove, but you're probably getting a little bit more balanced bat. So I think even kind of as a dead ball card, I might prefer Elmer to Chicken Wolf.
Oh, yeah, I would too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess as someone mentioned in chat, this is his Tinder profile card from the dead ball era. As something must have happened on EVC's chat. I only saw some of it yesterday, but there's stories of Tinder going around from EVC. So it must have been a wild
1890s Tinder.
Yeah, must have been a wild chat. Okay. High diamond, Orville overall. I got no comment on this.
We had another overall before, right? We had a 60 overall, and now we've got the 97 overall.
Yes, I did not guess this one because there was a card out already with this player's name on it. I knew there'd be probably another one, but I didn't think the name was above some of the other ones. Good pictures, very splitty, different weird kind of splits for both sides. High diamond, though, again, there's that situation. If it was a low diamond, might be a different story. Does he play in Diamond Open?
I don't think so. Actually, I feel like he's pretty similar to some things that are out there. So maybe in Modern, even, he's going to be a little bit better because the control is the weakest part of the card. So in Modern Diamond, I think he's kind of close. I think maybe a card he'd be similar to would be something like the Don Newcomb that some people are running toward the back end of their rotation. So, kind of in the picture maybe, but not a must-have.
Okay. Two more, and these are
a little better in an earlier era.
Nice looking young gentleman here for the Cincinnati Reds. We've got Noodles Hahn. EVC got the 95. I'm sure he's looking to upgrade to this one. Now, looking at this one, I would say, yeah, I expect a perfect rating out of this one. The stamina, the pitching ratings, really good BABIP. For me, on my team, he's my ace right now because I'm in gold and I don't have some of those other ones. I'm sure for a lot of people in the gold diamond leagues, it's an ace or in the top 5. Is it though for a perfect league team? Does he play anywhere in the current perfect league environment?
So I think with the league, one of the things that you're going to ask is also a lot about things like ballpark. You're not just asking, is this a good card anymore, but you're also asking things like, what does the ballpark look like and how does he fit? Uh, this is because this is a lefty that actually has pretty significant splits. So if he's going to face a lot of righties in a neutral ballpark or even a ballpark where righties are going to be pretty good, I think you're going to have trouble running him. If you're running some kind of lefty cheese where really he's going to get to face a lot of left-handers anyway because the ballpark's helping you out, then that's going to make him a little bit more interesting. But I think either way, I think there are probably just going to be a few too many, really excellent lefties even ahead of him.
But
So if you think
he
about,
should do really well in diamond leagues, right? If you're at the diamond level, he should do really well for you.
I think even there, it depends a little bit on the ballpark. So I'm just thinking about a few examples. At the top end, you still got the limited edition Koufax. But, as an example, right now you can get John Tudor for, let me see. Well, okay, market's not that clear, but the last 10 was still 200K on Tudor. I saw someone posted that they got a Sabathia for like 125K a day or two ago. So there are a couple of these lefties just at the top that have become quite cheap that are probably stronger. I'd probably still run, Howie Pollitt, for example, the tournament edition. That card you might be able to get a little bit more cheaply now. So I think he's probably just still behind a few too many lefties. And if I were thinking about investing, I don't like the idea of kind of upgrading at the back end because you're sort of not really even chasing the meta. You're just paying a lot to kind of get smaller upgrades. I'd rather save up and get a really big upgrade that's going to stay in my team for a long time.
Right. And it's interesting. And again, for new players out there, when you look at the splits, because you might look at the splits and go, well, it's not really a splitty card. So you're saying, Charles, that a difference of 4, because that's pretty much what it is. It's a difference of 4 in most of the areas, 6 in one, 3 in another. But for you, that is a significant split.
Yeah. And what we could do is you could just compare that to some other cards. So for example, the card that, at least in my park, I'm running here, I can put it up on stream. Here's the card that I'm running kind of in my park at the top is this Hilton Smith that came out recently. So here, you have kind of somewhat smaller splits. Even better would be a card that has slight reverse splits. Just looking at a couple of I was going to try to pull up something and it's freezing on me. So Ray Brown is a similar card where Ray Brown against righties is excellent and Ray Brown against lefties is not quite as excellent. And you have to sort of figure out what to do. But those 4 points across the board can actually be a pretty big difference.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, if I pull this card, because again, I'm only in gold, I'm definitely going to use them. But for those that are wanting to buy them, there are better options, or save your points for that next level, like the John Tudor that you can get for maybe 200, 250,000, where this one right now is probably going to cost you that much just to try and get them this early in the release.
Yeah, I do think it's a good card. If you have one, there's a decent chance that he's going to be an upgrade over the back end of what you're running. So, it's not that it's a useless card. It's just that, I feel like usually if you're going to really invest in something expensive, you want to invest in something that you're pretty sure is going to be around for a while.
Okay, let's get back to the last perfect card here. We have the Orator Schaefer. Again, the power is a little bit weak, and in this game, power plays in a lot of stadiums. If you don't have a power stadium, though, if you have a BABIP stadium, are you using him in right field? Does he replace some of those? We got the James Wood. Of course, he doesn't replace Griffey Jr., but some of those other corner outfielders, is he going to take their spot in a Babbitt Park?
So I think at least in league, the problem is that right now, at the top end of the league, there are basically 3 or 4 other cards that have huge gloves in right field, and all of them are a little bit better. There's Ichiro, there's Griffey, there's Winfield, and so you're going to be behind all 3 of them. In that next tier, then you definitely could think about playing him. Especially if you're kind of in a park that's going to limit power. And in an early era, well, I think I'd still rather play Griffey, Winfield, and Ichiro, but in a lot of the early era tournaments, they're not eligible, and Schaefer is. So for like a dead ball tournament, I think he's interesting. And there are a bunch now. So there's a weekly dead ball, but there's also a daily dead ball. So that means there are 8 dead ball tournaments a week, all of which are entirely open. So, there's no cap or anything. This card simply plays in every single one of them. So
Above
I think
Elmer
this is going to be a
Flick?
good tournament card.
Above Flick?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really good tournament card, but I think if you're playing kind of at the top end of the league, there are 3 options that, maybe all 3 of them are limited, but since there are 3 different options, a lot of your opponents are going to start to have at least one of them at the higher levels. And then you could, depending upon your ballpark shape, run other things. So in other ballparks, you might rather run Musial. You might even, I'd rather run Ruth and left, but you could just run Ruth and right and completely give up the defense and just try to outslug the other team.
All right. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the other cards in the set or run them in any kind of model, but we did get about 10 to 12 other cards here. Ed Head, Chicken Hawk, Stubby Overmar, and so on. Did you notice anything that jumped out about any of the non-shown cards?
Yeah, I think so. I think the couple that looked most interesting to me, one is Boof Bonser. Let me see if I can bring Boof up. Every time I do this, it says it's updating something. Let me try it again. So here's one, this Boof Bonser. And this is again one where if there were a bronze floor, then he'd be even more interesting because with a bronze floor cap, 61 is also very cheap. But this is a card that's kind of good at everything at the bronze level except home run prevention. So he's good enough at everything else that he might even make your roster in some bronze formats. But in a lot of the earlier era tournaments, then he becomes really interesting. So
okay,
I think that's one that looked interesting. Another was this Tim Spooneybarger. So now you've got huge splits, right? Much better versus righties than lefties. But he's still probably, might just make a silver team's bullpen. He's not going to be at the top end of the pen, but he probably should play somewhere.
All right. So there you go. Those were the cards. That is the opinion of Charles Warbot on the cards that came out today. Again, a fun set. It's always nice once in a while to have just these sets that, make us laugh and remembering some of these names, a lot of them from the early era. And it was fun going through some of these, and we'll see how they play out.
I know Isadafo and I have been talking about maybe kind of going through a few of these. We'd probably do a different format for the stream than we've done in the past, but we may do one of those either tomorrow or this weekend. So we'll see if that happens.
Okay. Charles, I'm glad you mentioned that because I've received a few direct messages on Discord asking, what's up with Charles? Where is Charles? Why isn't Charles streaming? They want to see you, Charles. I've gotten, a handful that are kind of inquiring, wondering why your Friday stream's not on. And when I kind of mentioned the situation, they're sad, Charles. They are. They're like, oh, I miss his stream. So I'm glad you and Isadafo are going to be back in some sort of format to go through some things because I really believe you guys are such a huge asset to the community that give a lot of really good information for those that want to get in certain tournaments and league play. So thank you for bringing that up and mentioning that.
I appreciate that.
You will be back.
Yeah, so we have to think about how we're going to do it, but we'll we'll come up with something.
Yes, there we go. And even in chat, we've got an awesome. So good that you will be back in some sort of format at some point in time. Let's talk about the card of the set for you. What set you believe was something interesting or that you're eager to maybe try out? For me, I don't know. Maybe the Cocoa Crisp, just because of the name. Although I wish it was an 84. But for me, it's probably because I'm a bronze player. It's probably going to be that Clark, that Fred card. This one right here, Fred Clark. I know it's not in the set, but it was recently released.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it. So as a new released card, this is my card of the week, I guess. How about for you?
I figured you'd pick one of the Blue Jays, just,
No,
I figured with all those Blue Jays out there, one of them would just entice you. Nope, that's my card.
Maybe the 41 Dave Collins, just to give him some love. Okay, how about for you?
Shows good managerial discipline. That you're not getting tempted by the Blue Jay. You're just kind of making good managerial decisions, right?
Well, and the fact that the Blue Jays were shown in a negative light with this set, they were all picked off. So I don't want to reward them.
That's true. That's true. So
you guys are picked off. I'm not picking you. You were all made base running errors. Okay. Your card?
That's a good one, because I think for this set, you both want a card that's going to be decent, but you also definitely want like an absolute 80 grade name, right? So I think we could go with that one, but I think if you want a card that plays also, I think we got to go with Rusty. The
very first card shown on stream today, the 44. And yeah, I like that too. It is an interesting card.
But I will say that's not my real card of the set.
Oh.
My real card of the set is a card that I have been asking for since I started playing OOTP. And they teased us on stream with the possibility that they would make one of these cards. We've even discussed him on our stream before, I think.
Yeah.
It is the immortal Tony Suck.
Tony Sucks.
I don't know if we've got that card. I don't know if you've even got that one.
No, I don't think I got the Tony. Let me just double check here if I got the Tony. For those of you that missed it again, and you need your OOTP packs, Dish will be back on with the rebroadcast at 9 p.m.
But unfortunately, I do actually have a strong criticism of that Tony Suck, which is the reason I thought he'd be really fun. Is as much as he was an awful player, and he was like legitimately, this is a contender for the worst player in the history of baseball. Okay. This is a guy who career had a 161 slugging percentage. He had a 366 OPS, and you might think maybe he was some kind of defensive wizard, but you would be wrong. This was, let's see. Well, we had a shortstop. As a shortstop, this player made 16 career putouts, 33 career assists, and 16 errors. He was also a catcher. And he, even in an era where, catchers had, some enormous number of passed balls, this is a guy that had 29 of them in 31 games.
All right.
But what makes this card fun is that he is a catcher and shortstop and center fielder. And this would be a great card to have in a cap because he plays at all three of those positions. And the problem with this card is he's not eligible at shortstop or center field. And that's the problem. I want this card, but I want this card to be eligible at shortstop and center field. I will say the other thing that's fun about this is they have him as a switch hitter. That's the other problem with this card. They have him as a switch hitter. Okay. And As far as I know, the first switch hitter was actually Roger Connor, sort of, significantly later. Baseball, although maybe it's possible because Baseball Reference just does have him listed as, batting unknown. So I would be really excited about this card. But I really want the version of this card that plays catcher and short and center field. Although if you really put a 2 overall on him, and I get to save that many points in a cap, I'll run him anywhere.
Yes, and we're just making light of it, the sarcasm. We know this wasn't a card put out today. It was kind of a meme card that Dish brought in. And Spore, since you're in the chat, I'm curious, when you did construct this card, I'm curious, I'm guessing you put this card together. Did you randomly just put in ratings, or did you actually put in ratings that you believed fit his real life profile? And did the game spit out a 2, or did you just kind of put a 2 in there for the card art? I'm curious if the ratings actually tie in with the real life player. It spit it out worst? Worse than a 2? Did we get the first OOTP negative card?
No, I'm saying like really Tony Suck, especially because also the era that he played in and the league he played in a reasonable contender for the weakest league to be considered a major league as well. Like this is mainly like the 1884 Union Association. So Tony Suck is a really strong contender for the worst player in the history of baseball. But like I said, if you give me a version of this card which is eligible at catcher, shortstop, and center field, I will try to run this card in something.
Yeah,
even if it's not a 2 overall, even if it's just a 40 overall. Here you go. You found Tony Suck.
151 batting average, 205 at bats. Played in the late 1890s, I guess, 1880s.
Yeah, I said 1884, but this was, again, that Union Association is quite possibly the weakest major league in history. And in that league, I forget what the league batting average was that year, but it was reasonably high.
Well, St. Louis Maroons had a fantastic 94-19 season. They were on fire. The St. Louis Maroons. Look at their top 12 players. One guy had a police sketch artist do his photo. Charlie Hodnett. Like he was so hot that they couldn't even catch him and take his photograph. So they had to do that. I will
say now that would be a good team for your Movember theme team too.
Yeah. All these mustaches, they could be on a November set, that's for sure, except for this guy who looks very clean shaven, David Rowe. We've got Buttercup Dickerson was on that team. The 90+ win. And there we go. We got Orator Schaefer. Talk about synchronicity. We got our perfect card that was in the Union League. Billy Taylor, Fred Dunlap.
And he doesn't have his mustache.
No, he does. Well, he must be blonde or something. It's there, but it's very light. But this one cracks me up.
But to give you an idea of how much weaker the Union League was, I'm just pulling it up now. So Schaefer's last 2 years in the National League, before this, he hit 214 and 292, came over to the Union Association, and suddenly he's a 360 hitter. 501 slugging percentage, where it was like 300 and 334 before that.
I see. And then going, total in MLB was 195, and in the Union it was 360. So
yeah. And then he went back to the National League the next year on the back of this, and he hit 195. So that's what I'm saying. That Union Association was incredibly weak compared to the other leagues, and Tony Suck still hit 151 in it.
It's so funny. Everyone in the chats, everyone's saying that these players look like their dad or their grandpa. We've got
Yeah,
Fred
I
Dunlap.
agree, Sport. What's the police sketch doing? I'm curious where do they get some of these? Because like some of them there must be a picture, but like there's got to be a story behind that police sketch, right?
Yeah. So here's Paul Spore's dad's doppelganger, I guess. We got Fred Dunlap there. We've also got someone that's saying that Charlie Hodnett looks like their dad. Where's Charlie? Charlie,
Well, that's the
Jack,
police. So where
David.
does the police? I wonder where the police sketch come. I mean,
He looks like everyone's dad. Come on.
well, my dad's not that pixelated.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's got longer hair. Yeah. Let's take a look at the stats. Oh, yeah. He had a 12-2 record. 12-2 with the champion St. Louis team. So he was, like I said, he was so hot. He was such a great pitcher. He didn't have time to get his photo taken. Not like these. This does not look like a 1880s pitcher. This looks like someone from the 50s or 40s.
It does, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if we can trust these pictures anymore. But that's the funniest thing of the day so far is looking at this team and seeing the police sketch.
Police sketch is great.
Oh, we got to check out one. Okay.
I'm now curious because one of the fun things with OOTP is that they take some of these old pictures and their face gen packages.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see what the face gen would do in the game for Charlie Hodnett.
Well, since we're on the Outlaw Reds, I'm hoping he got traded to the Outlaw Reds because he deserves to be there.
And then you get the police sketch. Actually, I see there's the one guy in the Outlaw Reds that just has the
Dan O'Leary. Yeah, Dan O'Leary is an outlaw. Look at this picture. Whoa, that's some fashion back then. That is George Bradley is styling with the haircut and with the fashion. Ooh. And then this does not look like an 1880s picture. I'm sorry. This looks like it's like more recent. But we do have him in the game, don't we? He was one of the.
Yeah, we have a Fatty Brody in the game. Yeah,
we have him in the August releases. So yeah, it is so cool. There is a November card for sure. Look at that. Mox McQueary should be in the game. We need a Mox. And let's, for fun, look at one other one. Let's look at the worst place team, the Kansas City Cowboys. I don't know what happened with the quick step. They obviously didn't quick step enough.
I think a couple of the teams would just dissolve during the season in those days. I don't know if that's what happened with the quick steps, but
no wonder they were bad. they got 5 guys that couldn't pose it. Look at this guy. Okay, who's
okay? I gotta say, whoever made that police sketch, I don't think they caught him.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they were focusing too much on the background. They put more effort into the background of the card than the foreground. Yeah, there we go. We got who was that? Jerry Sweeney, who hit 264. If that really is.
Actually, the Wilmington quick steps. This is a fun story. So it's actually the other way around. They played in the 1884 Eastern League, and they dominated the Eastern League. They actually wrapped up the championship in mid-August at 51-12, which made the remaining 6 weeks completely meaningless, and was a disaster for them because people just stopped paying to see them because they won everything and the games were too boring. So they jumped over the Union Association for the end of the season, and then went 2-16
with the Owen Nolan. The only Nolan was on that team. How appropriate is that? And they went 2-16. Yeah.
I see you got a lot of question marks there in the team batting, which is always a bad sign for the historical record.
Well, it's like a Spores card, with Tony Sock. So we're just going to throw in numbers, people won't question it, but we'll put the little asterisk or little question mark just in case. and just in case we're held accountable at some time. We got that little question mark. So the question mark basically is unknown, but for some reason they've given it known numbers. Yeah, really weird. 0.069 batting average for George Fisher. George, there you go.
That's
He was
I'm no
lighting it
expert.
up.
I'm no expert, but that's not as nice of an average as you'd like.
Well, back in his day, he probably got a lot of compliments on that. Like, way to go, son. Way to go. 0.069. Yeah, so it's fun looking at some of
The
these.
problem is that was an era in which people could hit 420.
This guy should be
Oh,
on
no. Okay, that one actually might be a mugshot. But the one to the right of him, I want the one to the right of him is, because I swear the one to the right of him is like Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday or something.
Oh man,
Is
the
that
guy.
not like a Western sheriff with the top?
Yes.
The guy the guy to the right with the top hat.
Oh, this guy. Oh yeah. That's the Untouchables. They should be back from the 40s. This is Kevin Costner in the Untouchables. Oh man, if there's a player that should have been on the Cincinnati Outlaws, it's John Shope. Should have been out there. And this kid, we probably went to high school during the day and played baseball at night. Like, he's like 15. He looks pretty young. He had 5 at-bats and 1 hit. All right. So I guess he stayed in school.
All right. That's what the quiz should be next week. The quiz next week should just be, tell the difference. Are these, like 19th century baseball players or modern mugshots?
You know what it should be? It should be a picture quiz where we show a picture and say real baseball player or fake baseball player.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no, there's some cool pictures, cool stories. Again, that's what OOTP does. It gets us researching, it gets us looking into things, it gets us finding out about certain outlaws in the game. And it's part of what this game does. So fun, yeah. Look, Little Stoner's in the game.
Even lower.
Little Stoner is in the game. Oh no, that's Gid Gardner who's in the game. Okay. Oh, well, what a great way. Again, we didn't start too well with all the errors that we had, but we finished off with some good laughs, good pictures, and celebrating some of those teams from 1884 Union Baseball. This looks, this seriously, he played baseball? He was on the team? First baseman, Thomas Griffin. 75-year-old first baseman for your born in.
Hey, look, if it works for Roy Hobbs.
Yeah, there you go. 220, pretty good for a grandfather of 3. Yeah, there you go. Oh, man. Yeah. The stories that these pitchers tell when you look at them. And I don't know where Altoona is. Do you know, Charles, where Altoona is? Yeah,
see, because I grew up around Philly, so yeah, that central Pennsylvania.
They just get better and better. He ran out of ink, I think, when he was doing this picture. I mean, Charles, look at this picture. This guy, James Harris, he was so excited for picture day. You can tell that in the picture. You could tell he's like, big smile. I'm ready. Mama's going to be proud of this one. And this is what he gets.
Yes.
Come on. 263 batting average. The guy deserves more. James Harris. I hope for April Fool's Day next year, Paul, that you come up with, some good ones, maybe from the 1894 Union era or 84 Union era. And
I think the April Fool's one is, how Topps now is doing these picture cards.
Yes.
I would love to see one or two of these as the picture card.
That would.
Actually, that's a
I'd laugh.
surprisingly good picture of Tony Suck. I gotta say, that's
Yeah,
actually a quality picture.
yeah. It's probably AI. I'm guessing it's AI. Type in Tony Suck randomized picture and just throw it up on Baseball Reference. Oh boy. Well, Charles, I think that's going to do it. I don't think we'll open packs today because we've gone long enough, and we want to get into some other streamers here. But yeah, Tony Suck, if you could ever make him good enough to be at least a 40 level card. I don't know if they have the rights to all these players. Maybe they don't have the licensing for some of them, but Tony Suck would be good to get in. And here he is, shortstop, center field.
Yeah, you at least got to play all three positions, I think.
Oh, sorry, but when I see this banner here, I'm not clicking on it because who knows what it's going to take me to. Okay, thank you guys.
I think that's a good one to end on, isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for the follows today. Those of you that subscribed, you guys are just, yeah, I hope you had a little bit of fun after all the issues that we had. It is a great day for baseball. Enjoy the weekend. Tune in to EVC on Sunday for his celebration of his 1,000 follows. And we're gonna go find humorous notes. So thank you for tuning in to the HAWC Report, episode 22. I am Laptop Pound. That up there is Charles. We made it, Charles. Thanks for joining in. Remember, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. The sun can't shine every day. See you, Charles. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks a lot. Always a lot of fun.
A very good friend of mine told me something the other day. I'd like to pass it on to you. I believe what he said to be true. He said we're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. The sun can't shine every day, and the sun is shining in this rainy city, and the sun is shining. Oh, isn't it a pity? And every year has its share of tears, but every now and then it's gotta rain. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. The sun can't shine every day.